You already know how we come in here on this one. We're just going to make our own sound effects. Bleep, bleep, oop, bleep, oop. Okay, one of a kind beat here, brought to you by It's Me, Danny Baby. I am blessed to have the fantastic teacher of a lifetime sitting with me in his brilliance today. So I am joined by Julius. He runs the Plug podcast, and I would love for you to give us a little bit of information about yourself.
Okay. I'm Julius Hinton. I'm the founder of the Plug podcast agency and network. I don't really know where to start, but long story, I've been podcasting for 14 years now. I'm an award-winning podcaster, and really just I'm a dad. I'm a brother, husband. Just a guy really passionate about helping people get their voices out. I know the power of podcasting. I've seen it play out in front of my face time and time again. And so now I just see, a lot of individuals that really have dope ass stories, and obviously that's kind of how we connected. And I just know the power of what podcasting could do. So started the Plug podcast agency. Really back in 2017 is when we started. I'm not really sure how deep into the journey to go to.
Oh,
Danny,
I would love to hear it. The things that really give you like that core memory instance of like ultimately why.
Ultimately why I started it?
Yeah. Let's start there.
Failure. Frustration.
Okay.
So I was going to school for marketing, and I had a minor in African American studies. Just growing up, I saw the division between like how things were marketed to me versus the people who were marketing it to me, literally. And shout out to people like Steve Stout and some other people in the industry. But I don't know if you remember this, but there was a Reebok commercial with Jadakiss and Allen Iverson. And and they're playing the basketball and it's like squeaking, but it made a beat with it. But that was one of the first advertisements that like was really for the culture, really for hip hop, really spoke to me. And I've always wanted to kind of have that feeling again, experience that again. And I wonder why more brands didn't do it. And that rabbit hole led me to a lot of answers of why that's not happening, and got me to a point of like, what can I do about it? So I know one moment was learning that 97% of media was owned by like 5 different companies.
Okay.
And that inspired me to really focus on independent media. Like, why can't the independent guy win? What does it take for an independent person to win? Learning through that, I started a radio show with my brother called Rooster Rap Radio.
Okay.
It was the longest running radio show in Colorado.
For real? I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah, we did it for like 3 years. Started it, that was like November 2010, and we ran it to 2013. We did 4 shows every week, and I really got. I guess I kind of found my place in that. I tried to be the host. I was the co-host at one point, and just kind of through the trials and tribulations, it was like, look, we need a producer.
Yeah,
we need somebody who could really, manage this whole process, get the guest upstairs, let the guests know what the story that we want from them, even guest outreaching, down to the editing and then blogging. Like it was a whole, kind of digital experience there. So I found the power in that, telling independent stories from my community. Did write-ups on people like Priest and, Midas.
I haven't heard Priest in a minute. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good people. So worked with Priest a couple of times. But, just working, with those kind of people and helping them get their stories out, seeing the impact, the views and all that fun shit. But it was like, there's a lot of stories in my community. Why isn't this being told more? What can I do about it? So I've basically been on that mission, since I was 21 years old.
Okay.
As I sit here now, I'm a 34-year-old man.
Look at us. Look at us.
And the mission's been the same. So, you asked about the why, it's really about telling the stories for my community, and then having ownership over that, As a black man, like, the stories always get a different narrative. Things get misconstrued. So it's like, how can I tell my story, have control over my narrative? Absolutely. And, have that power. And it led me all the way down a rabbit hole, but it ended up being podcasting. Yeah. And once that kind of clicked for me, just been focused on that ever since. So like that was probably 2016, 2017. From there, we started Life is Dope podcast, me, Graffiti Davey. Yeah. I was the board op producer, kind of the guy in the background setting stuff up. But we won an award from the Colorado Association of Black Journalists for that.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, we were the first
I
award of
didn't
its
even
kind.
realize that. Okay. Where was that? Where was the award originated from? Sorry.
It was the Colorado Association of Black Journalists.
Okay.
So
Beautiful.
it's a Colorado's division of the National Association of Black Journalists, which is a really prestigious program or
Wow.
institution. So to get that from the local division was pretty eye opening. We got to go to like a gala, fancy dinner. They awarded us like the award of the night, or the last award of the night
Come
kind of
on.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really like eye opening. Like whoa, people are paying attention. We're making an impact, and this podcasting thing is working.
Right.
Right. So at that point, it was just kind of tunnel vision. I had a 9-to-5 then too, so I was,
Yay.
working on that, and doing Life is Dope at night. Also did Mile High Mentors podcast, which is worth mentioning.
Okay.
So to me, I'm really right brain, left brain, so some of me is very business practical, but I love being a creator. And I guess to tie the two, it's just like the business of creation, right? How do you own your ideas and profit off of your ideas and control your ideas and, own your IP essentially. I've had my IP stolen from me back in the past, so stuff like those kind of experiences, just really all accumulated to frustration. I got to do something about this shit, and what am I going to do?
Right.
And so it was the plug. It was take control of my own story, help do Life is Dope, help do My High Mentors, help other folks tell their story. And then started the Plug podcast agency in 2020.
Okay.
And just haven't looked back. We've been...
Which was a prime time for that with everybody being home. So, it freed up that experience for you probably too, to create more time to do something like that.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was... 2020, everybody's got 2020.
Yeah,
right?
tattoo time for it.
But we had a kid, we moved, lost my job, all that fun stuff. And like I said, I had the podcast in the back pocket the whole time. And everybody was at home, everybody's asking questions, so I was able to kind of just grab a couple clients, bring some money in during a hard time. And I've always wanted to do this. Like it's something I've been, like I said, building for over a decade now, literally trying to get to exactly where I am today. So it was like, this is kind of God's sign for me. Like it's stopped the universe and say, hey, Julius, I can pay you this way, or you can make a living this way. You should try it.
Absolutely.
And so I leaned in full-fledged and, haven't looked back ever since.
Shoot. Well, I have to say thank you for, just even updating me. I'm learning more about you just sitting here.
Oh, there's so much. There
is, though. Just like we've been intertwined for a while now. And it was even years ago that I was hearing your name buzzing around like, this guy that just shows up and helps people. And I was like, wow, I just love that type of energy. And so just being a person that shows up in your community, you do tend to kind of gravitate to the story listening because you're such a good active listener. And it really empowers people to want to for me, what you've done for me sitting in this chair has been very healing to hear myself tell my own story. And you just really encourage that space. That wasn't something that ever, even in therapy, I just never really almost felt like it. But then once I got on the mic and you were just like, whoa, you can do that. Then I was like, then I even opened up more in therapy, So it really attributed to that. But that storytelling position of where you love that there's active listeners out there that need to tune in to, basically kind of that whole concept of not being alone. And so you elevating voices in the community, especially in Denver, where I feel like a lot of people for a long time didn't really recognize the arts that were already here and the things that were already established. You've even just taught me a lot with 5 points, you know what I mean? Just the culture that is that, and just how that impacted you. Also, just being part of this in the 2020 realm when everybody was losing their jobs and quite honestly losing their minds. And you took that constructive area or took that creativity time and you turned it into something really beautiful. And I'm very grateful for what you've brought to the community and voices and the way that you connect. You collect and connect humans too. And we're not going to be on Dateline. Don't you worry about it. They alive. All right.
Right.
But along with that, I really want to know, what is a moment for you that just felt so core memory when you just knew that at some point in your career or in this creative outlet that you would feel like that deep breath of like, okay, I'm on, like finally people are catching on. What's a core memory like that for you?
I don't really know if I have that yet.
Okay.
Right now, I still don't think people are catching on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I maybe feel that this week.
Okay, right.
But still, like, you're a beautiful example of like catching on that fire. It's something I talked about on the Maha Mentors podcast, is like, mentorship is very important to me because,
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a huge influence on my life, but I had a lot of mentors in my life that helped me become who I am. And, we talk about like the first person who made fire,
Right.
That responsibility that person have to teach the next person how to make fire and how to treat it and how to carry it to their village and what it can do, and that, like, that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I feel like I have the responsibility. I have that fire, and now it's, how can I really distribute it in the right, channel? And that's kind of where I'm struggling, I think, a little bit, is like,
Okay.
I'm trying to give it out and I want to see it catch fire.
Right,
Now
right.
it's catching fire. But, I want to see more of that, and I want to see, people really understand the power of podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year, like, we're only a couple months into it, and I think it's really taken fold with examples like, there's $1 million worth of game. What Wallo's doing, he just got chief marketing officer.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the organization, but basically to help felons, get back into society.
Okay.
There's Shannon Sharp, there's Joe Rogan, these big examples, but there's so many, everyday people who have podcasts that are actually affecting their lives and affecting their community.
Absolutely.
I think of like Resilience or Resistance, and like it's a podcast about successful Black Indigenous women and how they overcome trauma and, still become successful. And, that's a podcast that anybody can go to at any time.
Right.
If they're struggling, they can find that space. And, I think everybody has the power to create that space in their own individuality. So it's really, how can we channel that through a podcast that's, to me, purposeful. I don't really like, the gossip, the news, pop culture stuff.
Yeah.
That has its place, that has its time, don't get me wrong, but,
I feel that.
at the end of the day, when you kick your shoes off, and maybe you're struggling, you're like, who can you turn to if your friends don't pick up the phone? Hopefully we have a podcast or an episode, or even if there's just a moment in any of these episodes that just helps you sway your thinking just a little bit, that's really what the purpose is.
And see, like, friend, you're really kind of the only reason I tuned into podcasting. Before I even came in here, which is over a year ago, I never listened to podcasts. I recorded my first podcast with never listening to one in my life.
Whoa.
Truth.
And you got to listen to that first episode. 'Cause I mean, that was like chef's kiss.
Oh,
I was like, you didn't write this down?
No.
You didn't, like, the intro, everything.
Yeah, I just came in. I didn't even have a notebook. I was like, let me just sit down and I guess we're going to go for it.
One take hoved it too.
It was, but that's because you put me in a position of, again, the whole story piece. Like, you just encouraged, like, hey, don't even worry about who's tuning in or not. Like, I'm here listening. That's what you gave to me. So, like, not only was it like, yes, the power of podcasting, but it was like your ethereal way of existing allowed me to open up and speak. Granted, I could have done it eventually in time, but not to the level that I have, because you literally brought this experience into a way that was healing. And that's my core memory. I knew things would never be the same again. And so, like, after that first episode, I was like, this is where I want to be. And again, I had a lot of struggles coming in the last year, and we'd try to stay in touch. And then I was just dealing with things, and life was popping up and doing the thing. Yeah, it was just doing that thing. And I had the opportunity, like, reopen up to me, because I got wounded at work and was like, you know what? I got to turn this around. Like, Julius is always believing in me, checking in on me, and this is even part of the story. And so coming in here, never having listened to a podcast, not once in my life. And everybody's like, I listen to this podcast, I listen to that one. And I'm always like, I'm just listening to music, because I have enough thoughts in my damn brain as it is that I don't need to add another voice. But there was something about Even some of the folks on your channel, you have graffiti. I really love tuning into graffiti's work there because first and foremost, he talks directly about our community. And then I know who's backed by it, and
Yeah.
so the story becomes more palpable in an instance, just knowing that I have this in my community. Like we're all connected in this fantastic way because of what you have done in your due diligence for the voices that you believe need to be elevated. And so having never done that, then being ignited to having a little bit of a struggle to literally today, you are being interviewed by me. I'm learning how to run this podcast. Like if that doesn't come full circle, I don't know how else to acknowledge that. And then for it to also to give some honor where it's due here, friend, your brilliance as a beautiful Black man in this community that has such a there is not one person that has anything but love for you in this community. It's incredible. When I bring your name up anywhere, everybody's like, that human is dope. And you have never been a bridge burner. You have always just really kind of, I don't know, you've just always been very earnest in yourself and stayed true to that. And so like you've been pioneering this on your own and now it's just like, okay, now we're here. Let's like turn this, like when it's starting to feel a certain way, and you do that for me continually. So I just want to give those flowers to you, if we will.
I appreciate that. And like I said, it's been a journey, and that's really been the common theme is connection. That's kind of why I called it the plug, because
that.
yeah, it's all about the connect. Like, if you have one connection, it can lead to so many others.
Absolutely.
And like, you say pioneering, it's kind of funny because I shy away from saying that, but at the same time, it's like,
you've been doing this. You've been doing this.
There's nobody else in this space when, I really start talking about it. So I get that. And that's why I'm trying to, I won't say bring people up after me, but it's like, pass that fire on.
Yeah.
You can do this too. Your story's dope. My story's dope.
Absolutely.
They can both exist. Graffiti has that analogy about the bread. It's like there's more than one, bread company on the bread shelf. We don't have to fight over, whose story's going to be bigger. My story's better than yours, and that whole, competition thing. It's like if you can collaborate more. That's always been my focus. So even when bridges, in my opinion, burn or things don't go the way I planned, that connections can still come back around.
Absolutely.
So it's not worth getting hot-headed over or taking it personal. Like people have lives, things happen. So I try to stay, really grounded in that. And then, just going into like your story and the way you record. As a producer, what I really try to focus on is just setting a good vibe.
Right.
Like the vibe
it's
everything.
Time. Yeah.
And if I can just set a good vibe for you to feel comfortable to tell your story or to fuck up or, to record, this time the way it's supposed to be, really capture it. I know the rest is history. And like that kind of goes back to the feeling of dope, my name Life is Dope. Dope stands for Don't Oppress Positive Energy.
Ooh, I love it. I love it so much.
And, that's kind of the goal in life, right? If I can just keep my life balanced, grounded, not too high, not too low, appreciate what's, the everyday struggle, kind of what I call it. Things kind of smooth out that way. And so I'm really just trying to be a channel for my community in that sense. I'm a guy from Aurora, so I've always felt like I was kind of looking from the outside in, So it's like, hey, we can get in this way, guys. I propped the door open.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. You did for a lot of, you have a lot of people on your channel, and I wanted to just ask if you'd feel like sharing, some of the people that are on the journey with you that even were before my time with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm like, where do I start?
Because you build and see?
Yeah. So currently, right now, we work with about 53 different podcasts, dating back to, like I said, Mile High Mentors. Shout out to my guy Connor with the B2B Mentors podcast. That's really huge in that space. Like Mari Saul with the Resilience and Resistance podcast. Got to shout out the homegirl Sheena Jean with the Make One Day Happen podcast. She's doing some real good stuff. Got to meet Ricky Williams and connect with some real dope people. But she's teaching metacognition.
Okay.
The cool thing for me too, like I learn from every different podcast I do, right? So I got all these kind of buckets of knowledge that I just kind of sit with. But like Sheena, she goes over metacognition, which is like how you react to things and literally like the chemical, makeup of what's going on, like separating your emotions from, the feeling of emotion.
Right.
You know, you can feel mad and your blood pressure raises and you get flushed and stuff like that. You might want to say something crazy, but at the same time, your brain's just trying to tell you, hey, you're uncomfortable. You're in the wrong spot. You need to move. You know, and trying to get those two to talk to each other. It's a whole thing.
No, it is a science. Absolutely.
Literally.
For sure.
Yeah. We got so today I was working with the Betcher Foundation. They've been in Colorado for 80 plus years. They're one of the biggest and largest nonprofits in the state. Okay. But got a chance to work with Kyle Clark and, you know, some other influential people, and they're doing some really impactful stuff. Really just helping students and, you know, helping rural Colorado get access to, you know, quality education and resources. So, you know, really love to just kind of promote those kind of things. Like I can keep going on, but like Range VC, My Biggest Lesson, which is probably the biggest podcast in Colorado. Okay. Statistically. And, you know, they have some real huge tech founders on there. Okay. You know, these guys share their biggest lesson, their career journeys. And, you know, it's kind of cool to hear, you know, these real successful people, billionaires, millionaires, you know, how they got to that point, but kind of on a grounded level, what did they learn? You know, what was that impactful moment, like you're saying, that kind of helped them guided them through this. So I learned tons of stuff from all these different podcasts, and literally I work on these podcasts pretty much every week. I'm blessed to say I work on podcasts, you know, from morning to night. Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, from learning from all those different podcasts, you know, they've all been on the journey. They've all taught me different things. You know, they've all worked with me. You know, I'm not perfect, right? So I'm learning as I work on these podcasts. And, you know, every little pebble matters is kind of how it's went down. I've learned from, you know, from creating content, from producing the content, editing, the marketing, the monetization. That's really why I started the agency, because I saw the need and was actively, you know, a practitioner in all these different, you know, avenues. So, you know, really kind of defining, you know, working as an agency rep, working as a podcast manager, working as the producer, working as an editor, kind of finding those different buckets. Yeah. And helping them get separated. But at the end of the day, I'm just a fan. Like, right. I feel that. That's always been my perspective, is like, I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of everybody I work with. I think all of you are so fucking dope. And I just want y'all to see your own power and see your light. And then when you see it, when you get a glimpse of it, you know, there's no dollar amount that could have matched to it.
Because it brought me a lot of healing. It brought me closer to myself. It gave me the representation I always needed. And it's just, I don't know how you empowered me. It's just like now I'm tuning into all these other stories, which is also giving me like this bigger perspective on myself in the power of podcasting. But it is like this network of, you know, family. Like just here right now, to hear you speak in pride with like the people you've worked with, you know, like, come on, I did that, you know. And I think that's an incredible, just an incredible thing to note, because the community, as you said, like, I'm just a man from Aurora, you know, but like you're connecting all these people from every little different metro area here, bringing awareness to other things that exist in the community, like Denver Community Media. I didn't even know this existed. And so now I get to be in here utilizing my community. And so just from that one person, you know, just from me, I've gotten like 4 or 5 people in here. Because, you know, we're just like, they're like, oh, I see the benefit to them, for them to understand and see, is that they're seeing that it's healing me. So it's not even like, oh God, I want to just like get my voice out there. I'm like, I just treat it like a diary that I speak out loud. And then it's like turning into this thing, because just like, you know, how can we tell a true story, you know, with multiple vernaculars? There's always a different point of view, you know, and you really helped me like hone into just knowing like, it's okay to tell your story because somebody will relate to it. Well, that somebody for me was my younger version of self. Yeah. And had you not provided this space, again, I wouldn't be here. And so even with that, it's again, all connected. We have Lizzie Brody with the Hustlers Brunch, and she runs lizziebrody.com. I wrote a little article about how I was learning, or a little blog about how I was learning about who this Julius was. And then we finally got connected over a year ago. And that it's like, you know, oh, I know that person. Yeah, I worked with that person the day. And how like we never actually crossed paths then, which we might have.
I swear we had that rap-a-thon. I swear you were at the rap-a-thon.
I was at the rap-a-thon. I was at it.
I was there too. I swear I talked to you that night. I talked to a lot of people.
I know.
I met Pape that night. That was a night, man.
That was a great night. Exactly. And you just been doing stuff with the whole community to where like we're all sitting here now and we're like, oh man, we've been in it since the beginning. So like I did one of Sam's first ever vlogs, you know, like I went around with this like little flip camera that recorded for like an hour, and then you'd have to use that little USB to plug it in, you know, and then create a video, and it's still on YouTube, and it's all, you know, like almost 12 years old, and you were part of it back then, and we weren't, you know, directly knowing that. And now to be here where we're all technically working together.
Right.
All of us, you know, I'm working with you, and I'm also working, you know, alongside Sam, learning in this beautiful mentorship. And I think that what I did earlier this year was like, or at the end, I want to say end of November, I was like, I can only be around ambitious people right now. Like, that's it. And because I kept saying that, it kept magnetizing to me. And now I'm here. And so, yes, what was it, like a week ago? I was like, I went in, I recorded my podcast, I loaded it, I was telling you all the steps, and I'm scheduled to do it. And you're like, I'm shocked. You know, because
it was super full circle.
Yeah. And so, again, just want to share my gratitude for what you've done, you know, to impact me on that. But then again, y'all need to tune in to the Plug podcast, just understanding that there's a lot of really beautiful artists here that that Julius features on that page. There's a lot of connection to be had there. It's a big community. It's definitely not something that is being gatekept at all. There's no gatekeeping.
No.
We're like, the story needs to be elevated.
Yeah, we got stories from like so many different walks of life too. I think, you know, I feel like it's a little daunting on me because I want to just elevate everybody's, you know, podcast. But, you know, like thinking of Hustle Bunny, which is, you know, a little bit about sex work and just kind of the industry side of that. But it really provides like a healing space and a, you know, a human side to it. And also a fun side too, right? And, you know, like I said, graffiti, and then there's Polly on the Porch. But we got about 20 different podcasts on the network right now.
Okay.
Dropping shows or episodes every single week. We've impacted or had about 150,000 downloads since we've started.
Wow. These are big numbers. Come on now, to me, that's huge.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kudos to everybody. You know, shout out to my guy Q in Michigan. Can't forget everybody who's been on this mission with me, and I definitely never will. But it's really impactful. But my thing is like I want to see us take that next step.
Absolutely.
Especially right now, it's you know, back to the connectivity part. There's a reason behind it, and it's part of that creator struggle, part of that frustration. It's, you know, once you do get your idea out and your idea is flourishing, there's usually those vultures that come and try to peck at your idea and take advantage of it. And how do you protect yourself from that? And that's literally what, again, led me to podcasting, because you can own your IP, you can control, you know, all aspects of your podcast, you know, the distribution of it, the timing of it, you know, it's fully your baby at that point. And, you know, as, you know, we speak, it's 2024, it's a political year. They're spending the most money we've ever seen to target all these subgroups and labels and all this, right? But at the same time, that's going to possibly impact your art. So how do you protect that? How do you monetize that? How do you leverage that? Again, that's part of why the Plug exists, is to, you know, help us big up our brothers and sisters, so you can bring them on when they have an art show, you know, in the community. You can come on my show. I can get you in front of thousands of people, you know, and having all these little sub pockets of that, you know, almost in a blockchain effect. We won't need these mass media or these corporations like we used to. We can rely on ourselves. We can work with ourselves, connect with ourselves, and, you know, make money with ourselves.
Absolutely. It's like something I've been kind of saying lately is I don't want to make money from my community. I want to make money with my community, you know, because I think a lot of times, like, you know, there are instances in life, and just like with even like jobs and reward shows, all of this is connected in a way of like always having to be better than the other person rather than rising together, because that's like the scarcity at the top. There's not enough. And it's like, are you kidding me? You know, like I always am like, I'm bringing you with me. I'm bringing you with me. And then people, like, even 5 years later, I'm like, no, I have this project. I finally got where I want it to go. And they're like, for real, you remember? Like, yeah, we're just bond in a different way. And if you're remaining in that same moral compass that I'm in, you know, or that we're still aligned, then we can continue working together. But just like what I've already seen from you and where I believe that we're all headed in this, like, it's not going to be long before more awards are coming your way, friend, because like having this, like you said earlier, I just had this in my back pocket. Well, it's like completely that's like your third eye now. You're just doing it. You're led by something, because the way that you just bring the light out in folks, or you bring out an awareness of like what they need to work through just by hearing their own voice, is everything. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, this is just a podcast. Like, this is like healing for me. And it's like such a rewarding space to come into every time that like I literally picked up the curiosity to do this myself, like record this way, but I still can't, like the way that you host and the way that you bring in with, bring in these options for us to use so that we can monetize and to protect our best interests, and communicate with us has like been so incredibly helpful for me, because you ultimately led me to the Arvada Art Center. And then I was like, oh my God, I got to go to plays now. Like, this is where my kind of people are at. Amazing. And I wouldn't have even known about that had you not. And now I get to go to shows there for free, like, again, connecting us all and bringing us all into this beautiful space together. So
I was just thinking of somebody else I connected you with, but I'll tell you after the show. But
okay.
Yeah, it's all those type of opportunities, and it's really, like I said, just protecting it.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I was on a call the other day, and I was talking about one of the podcasts. It's called You and Me Kid, but it's about solo parenting, people who want to have a kid on their own and the journey of that. But I was talking about that podcast, and like, it's a very intimate space. You're speaking to a very niche audience, right? We're not going to get 100,000 views every episode, because
right.
You're speaking to somebody who wants to start a family. But basically the advertisers who wanted to get into that, it's like, we want to be very selective about who we partner with because of that intimate space. And then that kind of just goes back to protecting the idea and the art, the craft. But then again, just being a fan.
Right.
Like,
right. You're just like, I want to see you win. You tell me that all the time. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you're actually rooting for me. And I think that's like a big part of why I love, the first show that we started on. First episode, we're going to go to a core memory moment. I had never even listened to a podcast in my life. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this. I walk in, and Julius actually had a family member in town that was visiting, and it was like a really beautiful moment to like witness the family connection. Like, everything was community, and then it was like this family moment. And, you kind of looked at her and you were like, hey, Danny's going to start recording. Like, and she was like, yeah, well, I'll just see y'all in a little bit. And I was like, no, you can stay in here. Like, it's not a big deal to me.
No, I got to give you some more gravity to that. So like, my mom had just passed away about 5 months before that.
Okay.
And my sister was randomly in town because my pastor, who gave the eulogy for my mom, he passed away afterwards. So she's in town randomly. Like, this is, my sister travels all over the world. She's probably in Mexico right now.
Okay.
I don't even know where she's at, literally. So she's randomly in Denver. She hates coming to Denver. So she's here. And, timing with me and life is just hard, right? So the only time I can meet her is like maybe 30 minutes before your podcast. So, we're talking, shooting the shit, and then your podcast is time to start. So it's like, well, hey, sis, I got to go to work,
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know what you want to do. And you're just like, oh, no, just stay. And she's like, well, all right. So you basically just gave me another 4 or 5 hours with my sister or whatever it was. That was, super, super precious, because I don't get that time to be around my family a lot. And
didn't
that
realize
was
that.
Yeah, that was a really special thing. And then for her to get to see me work, her little baby bro actually doing something in here, and she's like, all right, it finally clicked back to the people wake up to what I'm doing, or kind of the gravity of it. That was one of those full circle moments of like, I think my sister finally understands what I do for a living,
right?
What I'm trying to do. And you provided that for me, so definitely want to thank you for that.
Thank you so much, friend. I don't even know what to say. I'm kind of tearing up.
On top of that, though, you know how many first episodes I've heard, and I've heard so many. Not to say bad, but the first episode is the hardest fucking one. Like, you struggle, you stutter, you're not sure what the next transition is. Your topics, all that stuff, intro, outros. Like, I never expect anybody to have that dialed in on the first episode.
Right.
You came in, sat down, and just went through all of that. Had an intro, had a first topic, hey, welcome to the audience. How's your spirit? You just dropped that. I was like, what is this? What is Yes, you can podcast. And then, just last thing is, I've done so many podcasts, but the feeling of podcasting is probably why I do it, to have that conversation intimately. And then usually, like, when the mics turn off and you just have that moment afterwards, that natural high has never been duplicated for me.
Right.
You know, I don't know what drugs you want to try or whatever. Like, you can't duplicate that because it's an honest, genuine moment with another human. And, you know, the art of conversation is really getting lost nowadays. So to have that moment just set aside to be, right? It's precious. It's precious.
It is, absolutely. And just hearing your, like, I've actually never really gotten to hear you speak quite like this, you know, like you'll tell me, but to just like hear it, that this is like quite literally how you exist. This is just how you exist. And that's why podcasting feels so like immensely healing, because of how you showed me how it exists. And that's a unique talent, friend, because I think a lot of people stray away from it. I absolutely did. I was like, I need all this equipment. I need this. I need that. And you were just like showing me resource after resource after resource. And you were like sending me, you know, little notes, you know, just reminding me like, hey, you got this, you got this. And if had you not done that, again, I wouldn't be here. And so the way that, for me, the way that I see you gifting people the opportunity is for them, not just for the voice portion of it, but the exact feeling of the safety that you provide for an individual in this space. And so now I have to ask this question. I just had to give that honor where it's due. But you gave me a quote the other day, and you said, hey, every day ain't Christmas, but you got to keep the faith. Can you talk to me about this right here?
Yeah, I love that quote. So I'm really known for the first one, and then I'll be honest, the second one's kind of for my mom, but I've started combining the two. But every day's not Christmas, and that means like you're gonna go through shit, like, and expect it. And it's crazy to me, like my wife hates when I say it, but like I'll say it when we're really like going through some shit. You know, just got in a car accident, and like as soon as you get out of the car, I'm the first person. Well, every day ain't Christmas.
Right.
And it's like you don't want to hear that now, but to me it just kind of, you know, changes the vibe of things. It's like, okay, something bad happened. Yeah, something bad's supposed to happen. But on the flip side of that, I'm a huge Christmas fan. I'm huge on Christmas. That's that one day that it's supposed to go right. You know, if you can make things right, you make it right that day.
Yeah, I feel that.
You know what I mean? Like, don't be an asshole. Like, treat people with respect. Be nice as you can. Like, if you're faking it, fine. Fake it for one damn day. But at the same time, like, you know, keep that grounded, you know, throughout the other 364 days is like, you know, they're not all going to go sweet like a Christmas morning. You know, you got to expect the bumps and bruises along with the way. But as you do that, you have to keep the faith because, like you were saying, it's so easy to lose that. And that's something my mom told me, like, you know, to the day she died, it's you know, keep the faith. As you go through the ups and the downs. And, you know, I had this analogy today while I was getting out of the shower, and it's like, you see so many people climb the mountaintop, or everybody wants to reach the mountaintop. But if you really pay attention, the people at the mountaintop don't live there. They can't stay there. It's not sustainable. So they're basically like zip lining down to the valley. And the more you start to, you know, focus in on that, it's like, well, why are you trying to climb that mountain? And if you understand why you're trying to climb it, you also understand that you can't stay there. And so you got to have a plan for what's your valley. Where do you want to, you know, rest? Where do you want to get to? And then once you have that vision, that, you know, that focus, you know, the journey to get there, it's keep the faith. Every day's not Christmas. You know, you're going to have these trials and tribulations. You're going to get laid off. You're not going to get the job. You're not going to, the guest is going to cancel on you. The mic is going to mess up, you know. All these things they're going to happen. But if you keep the faith and maneuver through it all and keep going, you'll get to your mountaintop, whatever that is for you. And then afterwards, if you did it right, you'll have a plan to how to get to your valley as well.
Wow. I mean, sheesh. I didn't realize I was going to get this kind of treatment today. I needed that boost. Thank you. That, just to hear that you still hold true to how your mom, you know, impressed upon your life. And I love that the origin of that is set in a divine feminine sense, you know, and it's gentle and it's nurturing. So it doesn't surprise me that since you're so influenced by that's where a lot of safety comes into your nurture, just how you just exist, getting people to enjoy podcasting. So this is making sense. Mama, thank you.
It's all connected. It's all connected. And yeah, you don't think you got it right. It's all about kind of just the space. Like, I really hold this space sacred, this time sacred.
Absolutely.
Even if you're just listening to this now, like, thank you. Like, if you made it to this part of the podcast,
Come
you know
on
what
now.
I mean? Like, this is a sacred moment. Thank you. And honor that. Like, you know, the flip side of that is, like, as a creator, how much can you pour into this space? I guess that's one thing that like I'm always kind of pushing all the creators on. What I've seen is like people who give their all to the podcasting, they win. They get the mountaintop and they get what they want. But there's a lot of creators, like you're saying, they struggle, they get reserved, I don't know what I want to talk about today, or they don't have that message really corely ingrained on what they want to do. So I'm really just trying to help people navigate that creator struggle in them. But I know everybody has their individual story that, we're all vessels. Everybody that kind of connects with me is a vessel for their own community, their own family, their own, way of life, if you will. And really just trying to amplify that for others.
Absolutely. Now, because of all of the, the praise that's in here today, is there somebody
Hallelujah.
that, amen. I'm going to take a praise break. Thank you. I just wanted, since this is such a beautiful and sacred space, do you have anyone living or not present in body with us that you'd like to thank in this intimate moment for where you're at right now?
Who's no longer with me?
Somebody that could be living or somebody that's no longer with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give a shout out to my rock, my main man, my number one, which is my brother, Jamal. Bro's held me down my entire life, and that's kind of my protector. And he's created the space for me to be who I am. So appreciate him for sure. Definitely want to shout out my other bro, Josh, Marquise. I mean, what's cool about me is like, I got the creator community, right? But I come from a whole different community, and I basically have the same group of friends I've had since I was literally in the first grade.
Wow.
Yeah. Quite literally. Shout out Nisai, Alex, Austin. I'm just trying to thank everybody in the crew. Polly, Polly on the porch. There's a lot of my boys over there. But just that whole community over there. Like there's a whole group that I'm a vessel for. I guess you could say. Southeast Aurora, growing up over there in the Eagle Crest area. But like all those people who support me, far, the near, the old, the young. Shout out to everybody. I got so many names. I could just go on and on.
That's a beautiful thing. Look at what you've been building. Look at what you've been building. And so I just wanted to ask if you could let our, the people observing this conversation, where they can find you, where, where you can best be reached if they want to join on this journey, or where to observe the journey. Where can they find that information? Yeah,
that's a great question. The best place, I guess, would be Instagram.
Okay.
Producer_Julius, Julius. Find me on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, Julius Hinton's always a good spot. But really, again, I'm always focusing on the podcast. So, at the Plug Podcast on YouTube, on IG. Okay. Like I said, there's 53 different podcasts I'm a part of. So I think the main number one place, if I could send you, would be my website, theplug-agency.com. Okay. It's got a list of all the podcasts that we were a part of there. And then you can really just pick your rabbit hole that fits your fancy. Okay, perfect. Well, friend, it has been such a pleasure to sit with you today as this table turned a little bit. Oh,
That's
did
so
it?
dope. I love it so much. Also, if y'all are looking for some positivity to wear on your body, Life is Dope, you can find that on your website as well, right?
Yeah, lifeisdope.com. Check out the Kids Above Everything, too. We just supported those guys. Okay. Did some real dope stuff over there. So looking for mentors. But yeah, lifeisdope.com. You can get customized shirts. We got everything you need over there. But the big thing with Life is Dope, just looking to make an impact in the community.
Well, I really want to keep just using that phrase, because when I was telling my siblings about it, that dope, don't oppress positive energy, they can't get over it. They just think that's the best thing ever. Just how you came up with all of that. But again, life is dope because we're sitting here today together in this conversation. And I just want to know how your spirit is feeling after sitting here for this last 45 minutes.
Ooh.
How's that spirit?
It's full. It's full. It's been a long, pretty tough week for me. Just working a lot, but I was really looking forward to this just as a release, and it's met the match for sure. So yeah, my spirit is fulfilled, and I got some more tank or some more gas in the tank.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Thank you so much for sitting in this conversation with me. Again, y'all, just go peep out all the information. It will also be available just on a link here. But again, shout out to Julius. As we always should, be celebrating the beautiful folks in our lives. But this is Black History Month, and make time to look into how you can support your local community, because the richness that is here, just sitting with Julius, you're not going to get anywhere else. So I just really, really advise that you reach out into your community and you find more foundation like this. And again, just want to thank you for your time, for your energy, for your spirit, for your essence, for your absolutely brilliant brain. And again, just for your guidance. You're an incredible person, and I just can't wait to see what keeps happening here. So thanks for coming on here, friend.
Thank you.
Yes. And I just want to let y'all know that I'm not here to encourage anyone. Okay, that was Julius's job today.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
You know, but if this story just resonates, or it's a good place to tune in to, you know, start a journey for yourself and healing just in the podcast way, connect with Julius. Other than that, just remember to continue creating earnestly and love, y'all. We'll see you next time. That's the sound effect I got. Bye.